When people look at my journey, they like to believe there was some special talent hiding inside me. I always smile when I hear that, because the truth is very simple. I was never the smartest student in my class. I failed exams. I was rejected again and again. If talent was the requirement, I would have disappeared very early. What kept me alive was something much more boring, much less glamorous. It was discipline. Discipline is what you do when nobody is clapping for you. It is waking up when your body says no. It is repeating the same small actions when there is no reward yet. Many people wait for inspiration. They wait to feel confident. But inspiration is emotional, and emotions are unstable. Discipline does not care how you feel. Discipline shows up anyway. I remember applying for jobs and hearing no so many times it became familiar. At KFC, 24 people applied, 23 were accepted. I was the only one rejected. That moment did not test my talent. It tested my discipline. Would I continue preparing myself, or would I let embarrassment decide my future? Failure is a stepping stone, but only if you have the discipline to step again. Empires are not built on big dreams alone. Everyone has dreams. Empires are built on small routines repeated every day, especially on days when motivation dies. Discipline is choosing discomfort today so tomorrow becomes predictable. It is the bridge between goals and accomplishment. The world only remembers doers, not talkers. Talent can open a door once. Discipline keeps it open for decades. When opportunity finally arrives, people call it luck. But luck is when preparation meets opportunity. And preparation is nothing more than discipline practiced quietly for a very long time. Freedom comes from structure. Many people tell me, Jack, I don't want discipline. I want freedom. I understand this feeling very well. Because when I was young, I believed the same lie. I thought freedom meant doing whatever I wanted, whenever I wanted. But what I discovered through many mistakes is that a life without structure is not free at all. It is controlled by moods, distractions, and other people's demands. When your day has no structure, your emotions make decisions for you. If you feel tired, you quit. If you feel bored, you waste time. If you feel angry, you react. This is not freedom. This is emotional slavery. Discipline creates simple boundaries, and those boundaries protect your energy. They protect your attention. And attention, not money, is the most valuable resource you own. When I was building my company, my days were very boring. Same wake-up time, same priorities, same focus. People thought I was limiting myself. But inside that structure, my mind became calm. I did not waste energy deciding what to do next. That is real freedom. Once your habits are controlled, your time becomes flexible and powerful. Most people want flexibility without structure. That never works. Structure comes first, then freedom follows. This is why leaders can move fast while others feel trapped. They are not thinking about discipline anymore. It is automatic. Discipline is the bridge between chaos and clarity. I have seen many talented people fail, not because they lacked ideas, but because their lives were disorganized. They wanted freedom, but they avoided discipline. In the end, they became prisoners of their own comfort. Comfort feels good today, but it steals tomorrow. If you want real freedom, do not run from structure. Build it, respect it. Discipline does not cage you. It removes the noise so you can finally move forward with speed and confidence. The pain of consistency in my early years, people think the hardest part was being rejected so many times. But rejection is loud. You can blame it. You can talk about it. The real pain was much quieter. The real pain was waking up the next morning and doing the same work again, even when nothing seemed to change. Discipline means consistency in silence, and silence is where most people break. There were long periods when no progress was visible, no applause, no confirmation, just effort after effort with the same results. This is the phase where most people quit. They say, I tried. They say, it didn't work. But what they really mean is they could not tolerate the boredom and doubt of consistency. Consistency is not exciting. It is repetitive. It tests your identity. Discipline means showing up even when your mind tells you it is useless. It means trusting the process before you trust the outcome. Failure is a stepping stone, but only if you keep stepping. If you stop in the middle, failure becomes your final answer. The world only remembers doers, not talkers, and doers are simply people who stayed consistent longer than others. I learned that results are delayed. Effort comes first. Results come later. Most people reverse this order. They want results first, then they promise effort. Life does not work that way. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, and that bridge is built one boring day at a time. Empires are not born in big victories. They are born in invisible suffering, when no one is watching, when no one believes, when even you are unsure. If you can survive this phase without quitting, you quietly separate yourself from the crowd. And one day, people will call you successful overnight, not knowing how many silent mornings it took to get there. As I grew older, I realized something very uncomfortable about myself. My biggest enemy was not competitors, money, or timing. It was my emotions. When emotions lead, discipline disappears. When anger speaks, wisdom stays silent. I watched many smart people destroy their futures in just a few emotional moments, and I knew I had to learn this lesson early. In business, chaos is normal. Problems arrive every day. If you react emotionally, you feel busy, but you make poor decisions. Discipline trains you to pause, to breathe, to observe before you respond. That pause is power. Power is not shouting the loudest or moving the fastest. Power is staying calm when everyone else is panicking. I remember moments when deals failed, partners left, and people laughed at my ideas. Emotion told me to defend myself, to prove them wrong immediately. Discipline told me to wait, to learn, to adjust. Emotional control is choosing the long-term outcome over short-term relief. It is choosing dignity over ego. This is why leaders often look calm in chaos. It is not talent, it is training. Most people confuse emotional expression with honesty. They say, "This is just how I feel." But feelings change every hour. Discipline gives you stability when feelings are unstable. The world only remembers doers, not talkers, and emotional reactions create a lot of talk but very little progress. I learned that if you cannot control your emotions, someone else will. Markets will control you. People will control you. Situations will control you. Discipline puts you back in the driver's seat. It does not remove emotion. It teaches you how to use it instead of being used by it. Power is not loud. Power is controlled. Empires are not built by people who react to everything. They are built by people who respond with patience, clarity, and discipline. If you master your emotions, you master your future. And that is a secret most people are too impatient to learn. Habit changed my life more than any strategy or book. I began listening carefully to how people speak, especially when things go wrong. Some people talk about problems like victims. Others talk about problems like builders. The words sound small, but the direction they create is very different. Discipline teaches you to hear this difference clearly. Complainers always have good explanations. The market is bad. The system is unfair. The timing is wrong. Other people are lucky. When you listen long enough, you realize something important. Complaining feels productive, but it changes nothing. It protects the ego while quietly killing progress. Discipline forces a painful shift. It makes you look inward instead of outward. When something failed in my early days, I asked a simple question. What is my responsibility here? Not who to blame, not what excuse fits best. Responsibility is heavy, and most people avoid it. But discipline and responsibility walk together. Winners build systems so the same mistake does not happen twice. Complainers build stories so they can feel better without changing. Over time, a quiet separation happens. You don't announce it. You don't fight about it. You simply stop thinking the same way. One group spends energy explaining why life is hard. The other spends energy building despite it. The world only remembers doers, not talkers. And talk is cheap when discipline is missing. I have seen people with less education, less money, and fewer connections rise faster than more talented people. The difference was not intelligence, it was ownership. Discipline forces you to own outcomes, good or bad. Failure is a stepping stone only if you step forward, not sideways into excuses. This is not about being harsh. It is about being honest. Empires are built by people who replace complaints with responsibility. The moment you stop complaining, you gain control. And control is the foundation of every great result you admire. Rejection trains discipline. People often ask me how I handled rejection, as if there is a secret trick to avoid the pain. I always tell them the truth. Rejection never becomes comfortable. You don't get used to it emotionally. What changes is your discipline. Rejection is not there to stop you. It is there to train you. And training is never gentle. I was rejected more times than I can count. Jobs, universities, partnerships, no followed me everywhere. It would have been easy to decide that the world was unfair and walk away. Many people do exactly that. They confuse rejection with a final judgment of their worth. Discipline teaches you something very different. It teaches you to separate your identity from the outcome. It is easy to work hard when people praise you. Anyone can do that. The real test is working just as hard when nobody is watching, when nobody believes, when nobody cares. Discipline teaches you to continue without validation. You stop waiting for permission. You stop waiting for applause. You learn to trust your preparation instead of other people's opinions. Every rejection became a lesson. Not emotional drama, but data. What can I improve? What can I learn? Failure is a stepping stone, but only for those who step again. Without discipline, rejection becomes an excuse to quit. With discipline, it becomes resistance training for leadership. I noticed something important over time. Rejection hardens you in a good way. It makes you patient. It makes you humble. It removes the need to impress. This is why disciplined people grow quietly while others burn out emotionally. The world only remembers doers, not talkers, and rejection filters out those who only wanted easy wins. If you are being rejected right now, do not ask, why me? Ask, what is this training me for? Discipline turns rejection into preparation, and preparation sooner or later meets opportunity. The famous failure story, people love famous stories because they make failure sound beautiful. They talk about Thomas Edison and say he failed 1,000 times before inventing the light bulb. They clap for the number, they share the quote, and then they go home feeling inspired. But most people completely miss the real lesson. Edison did not just fail many times. He showed up with discipline every single day. Imagine failing hundreds of times and still returning to the same workshop, the same routine, the same focus. That is not inspiration. That is structure. That is discipline. Failure without discipline is just chaos. You try something, it doesn't work, you get emotional, you jump to something else. But failure with discipline becomes data. Edison did not say, I am unlucky. He said, now I know one more way that doesn't work. This is exactly how empires are built, not with hope alone, but with controlled repetition. Edison's discipline forced failure to become progress. Every attempt sharpened the next one. That is why his failures moved him forward instead of breaking him. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, even when the road looks embarrassing from the outside. I learned this lesson in my own way. Many of my ideas did not work at first. Some failed badly, but discipline kept me in the game long enough to learn. Most people fail and quit. A few fail and adjust. That difference is everything. The world only remembers doers, not talkers, and doers are simply disciplined learners. People ask why some individuals seem unstoppable. It is not because they avoid failure. It is because they are disciplined enough to face it repeatedly without losing direction. Empires are not built by people who fear failing. They are built by people who fear quitting more than failing. So when you hear these famous stories, don't admire the failure, admire the discipline behind it. Without discipline, Edison would just be another forgotten man with broken ideas. With discipline, his repeated failure became inevitable success. And the same rule applies to you. Cutting emotional noise as I became more focused, I noticed something uncomfortable. Not everyone around me was helping me move forward. Some people were kind, well-meaning, even supportive, but their words were noisy. They questioned everything. They worried about everything. They needed constant explanation. Discipline taught me that not all relationships are toxic, but many are distracting. When you are building something meaningful, your belief is fragile. It is like a small flame. If too many people blow on it with doubt, fear, and opinions, it goes out. Discipline teaches you to protect that flame, not by arguing, not by proving anything, but by choosing silence. When you stop explaining your vision to everyone, your energy multiplies. This silence feels lonely at first. You start to notice how much of your time was spent justifying yourself. Discipline removes that habit. You realize that most people don't need explanations. They need results. The world only remembers doers, not talkers. Talking feels productive, but it drains focus. Doing requires fewer words and more discipline. I learned to listen less to emotional noise and more to quiet progress. Some people called it arrogance. It was not, it was survival. Discipline is knowing when to step back, when to say no, and when to walk alone for a while. Empires require fewer voices and clearer direction. Many people fail not because they lack ability, but because they carry too many opinions. Everyone has advice. Very few have discipline. When you protect your focus, you protect your future. Emotional noise steals clarity, and without clarity, discipline collapses. This is not about cutting people out of your life. It is about cutting unnecessary access to your attention. Discipline is respecting your mission enough to guard it. When the vision is ready, the world will see it. Until then, silence is not weakness. Silence is strategy. The secret no one teaches. There is a secret that makes people uncomfortable because it removes a very popular excuse. Everyone says, I'm waiting for passion. They say, when I feel inspired, I will start. I used to believe this too. But life taught me something very different. Discipline must come before passion, not after it. Passion is emotional. It rises and falls. Some days you feel strong. Some days you feel empty. If you wait for passion, you will only work on good days. Discipline forces action on bad days. And something very interesting happens when you act without passion. Passion slowly follows. Progress creates motivation, not the other way around. I saw many people with big dreams who never moved. They were waiting to feel ready, waiting to feel confident, waiting for the perfect moment. That moment never comes. Discipline breaks this waiting habit. It says, start small, start now. Action creates clarity. Clarity creates confidence. This is why disciplined people seem lucky later in life. When I started, I was not passionate every day. Many days I was tired, confused, even afraid. But discipline pushed me forward anyway. And over time, as results appeared, passion grew naturally. Discipline is the bridge between goals and accomplishment, and passion is often the reward for crossing that bridge. Most people reverse this order and stay stuck forever. They want emotional certainty before effort. Life demands effort before certainty. The world only remembers doers, not talkers. Discipline creates momentum, and momentum creates belief. If you are waiting to feel ready, stop waiting. Readiness is built, not felt. Discipline forces you to move before comfort arrives, and once you move long enough, passion will meet you on the road. This is the secret most people never learn, because it requires doing before feeling. Empire is a daily choice. When people talk about empires, they often imagine a single breakthrough moment, a deal, an invention, or a lucky opportunity. They imagine lightning striking once, and everything changes. But I learned a much harsher truth. Empires are not built in one moment. They are built every day, quietly, invisibly, in decisions that seem small and unimportant at the time. Every morning you make a choice, structure or chaos, control or comfort. Most people choose comfort and call it balance. They sleep late, scroll their phones, avoid difficult conversations, and postpone the hard work. Discipline is the bridge that turns these daily choices into unstoppable momentum. One small decision repeated thousands of times becomes the foundation of a company, a life, an empire. I remember in the early days when we had almost nothing, every decision felt heavy. Should we call that client? Should we work tonight? Should we say yes to this? Opportunity or focus elsewhere? Every choice tested my patience and discipline. It was uncomfortable. But over time, those daily decisions compounded into something no single action could ever achieve. That is the secret the world overlooks. Consistency, guided by discipline, is what turns ordinary people into builders of empires. Empires are not built by brilliance alone. They are built by resilience, control, and daily sacrifice. They are built by people who show up when no one is watching. They are built by people who choose discipline over comfort again and again. The world only remembers doers, not talkers. And doers are those who treat every day like a step toward something bigger than themselves. If you want to build an empire, stop waiting for magic. Stop waiting for inspiration. Every morning, choose the hard path. Choose discipline. Because in the end, an empire is simply the sum of thousands of disciplined decisions made in silence long before anyone notices, and long before history remembers.